This website's content was built with Beaver Builder, and this is what happens when you don't pay attention to rows. You need to pay attention to rows with Beaver Builder in particular, and most page builders actually, because we have this huge white column which we don't like. It looks like a sidebar, and in order to have things work better, you want to have things in rows. So at some point you need to actually have a wide area or work with two different columns. In this case, a client worked on changing the content themselves and probably combined everything into one column on the left and one column on the right. Possibly left it like I had it, where two pictures were together with a chunk of content and then one picture was by itself with another chunk of content. Let's take a look. Okay, so we're opening Page Builder. And we're hovering, and we can see here we have two modules on the left, another module here, and no idea, no understanding of how rows work. So unfortunately they messed up their own website and it looks like hell. So let's try and fix this. Basically I'm going to duplicate this one because we're actually going to trash some of the content in it. We've got a little delay here. Okay, it didn't duplicate yet, so I'm going to duplicate it again. Okay, now we have a duplicate copy. I'm going to trash everything below. I have to double check 1 second. Cancel. Let's go up here to the top part. So I basically want this much content on the left. So I'm going to take everything from if you like the social settings down and trash it. And always remove all spaces at the end of your text, otherwise the spacing will look really bad. Then the second one, we're going to trash everything above. Delete. So we still have a bit of a problem. We've got one over here, nothing over there, some stuff over here that makes no sense. So I'm going to redrag these rows into two column rows. They're there, but they're messed up. So that's why I'm doing it over again, starting from scratch here. I'm going to drag another set of two column rows. And I also want to have a reasonable width, not too wide, not too narrow. You can also do it with your column settings, 32. So each of these are the same width. I'm going to drag the modules where I want them. So I'm dragging two photo modules into one row. See, this is empty, but it's forcing itself to be one row. Then I'm going to drag these two modules, the heading and the content, from the row we just created by splitting the content. So I'm going to drag this up here and put it inside this row. So now we have a nice chunk of content with another row. We may have to adjust it a little bit, but let's see how it goes. I can drag this module up into here, and then I'm going to drag another photograph up and to be next to this content. And obviously there's some extra space here, and there's a little space on the left up here, so we may have to adjust it. So we'll take some of this content, save, and place it over here. It's not perfect, but you'll see in a minute why we have to do this, why it makes sense. So now it looks very nicely spaced, and the way to pull this off is through your design settings. You got advanced margins 0 and 0 at the top and bottom, and in the next module we have 0 and 0 top and bottom, and we've defined the paragraph spacing within a module to be about the same as it would look as if they were all in one block. So we still have some problems, obviously. Okay, and I'm going to probably keep that because we may need it. Here's where we run into some problems. We probably want to create another row here and add another photo module here. So I'm going to cut some of this text out. And it's not perfect, but it's going to look better than it did before we started. Control X, backspace, save, and add a text module. Text editor, put that in there. Paste, backspace, remove all extra space. Make sure we got 0 and 0 at top and bottom, save. Drag this module next to it. Trash any extra modules you don't need. Trash any rows you don't need. So I realize that the spacing here is very different. And even the pictures are different heights. That's by choice. We wanted the word connect in there, but I do want these columns to be equal. So I'm going to click on the column settings, change this to 32% to get an exact width. Now we could mess with this a little bit if we want to, adjust the design, but in my humble opinion, this is good enough to get the result that we want. Now here is the part about rows that you need to understand. If in traditional design this column of pictures was a sidebar, they would all end up at the very bottom of all this entirety of text. But because we used rows strategically, I'm going to push this off to the side. Whoops, come back here. Hopefully we're still videoing it. Come back here. Hopefully they're still recording properly. We can drag this and you'll see that the pictures stay with the content, and then the content and the pictures stay together. And we have a little bugaboo here because these columns should not be so narrow and have different widths. Okay, so the reason there are different widths is because the modules have a defined maximum width. Don't worry about that. I have already changed this.